Okay, I'm gonna do some insights on the C sharp minor waltz by Chopin, opus 64, number 2. So I'm gonna jump right in. It's the one that goes. Okay, so right off the bat, 3 and 4, measures 3 and 4 are some of the hardest of the piece. Lift and drop. You're lifting on the F sharp and A, and you're dropping to play both the F sharp G sharp and the F sharp D sharp. You want to bounce. Now if you play 3 and 4 like this, with downstrokes on all of them, you'll hear how heavy it is, and a lot of people will try this and wonder why it doesn't flow there. Lift and drop. And while you're playing that, grab them all and pull the sound up. Okay, the next thing about this is how to pedal it. I pedaled on beat 1, 2, and 3. I tried everything out. I recorded it, drove me bonkers, and I decided on this. If you have the rest on the and of 2, and if you show it in the right hand, it sounds like that. So you can't pedal there, obviously, and I held my left hand down. I showed it with the right hand. Now I'm going to lift the left hand on the and of 2 as well, even though it's not written that way. When I listened back to these things and messed around with it and really put my phrasing in there, the rest really didn't work for me, and I went back to where I started, which was pedaling each beat, having that rest kind of disappear, but with the up and down motion, having the distinctive part of the beginning of the measure and the end of the measure. And it kind of acts like what the rest does, which splits up the beginning of the measure and the end of the measure. Okay, the next thing is measure 6. I lift up on beat 2 in the pedal. Most other recordings don't do this, by the way. However, the pedaling on 3 and 4, I think most recordings do it that way. I do that on measure 6 because the F sharp diminished 7 over E is such a rich harmony. It's a lot of sound. And I played the F sharp A big on purpose to prove my point. You could make it more subtle, but I like it without the pedal to soften that harmony a little bit there. Okay, measure 13 to jump from D sharp to the 4-note chord. Remember, if you travel with a stretched hand, when you play the 4-note chord, you might miss or you might kind of clunk it. So get there first, spread at the last moment. It seems like just a small difference, but it's going to really make a difference in your ability to control the sound and hit the right notes. 28 or 20, I don't know, I'm tired. 30. Lift up for your 3-note trill. Okay, 31. You want to be heavy on that bottom tone. So you're hitting an E and G sharp at the same time. So practice it by hitting the E loud, the G sharp quiet, the G sharp quiet, and the E heavy. Okay, also do it the incorrect way where the G sharp is too big. Also in your voice, know the difference between the two notes. Dum is the note you want to hear. Ooh is not the note you want to hear. Bum, bum. You want that E. That's really going to help you a lot with this piece, is being able to hear which one you're voicing and knowing the difference between the two sounds, E and G sharp. Be able to replicate that with your voice so that you can split it. This one's not too hard. You have to do this with most songs in classical music. The pinky's on the weaker note, G sharp. We don't want that as loud as the E, so it kind of fits our hand nicely. This isn't always the case. Okay, moving on to the B section. This is where a lot of the work is done. Okay, so the first thing is the group of 6. One motion, it kind of fits your hand nice. Try to do that. Try to group them, try to make them snappy. Okay, so that's level, that's one of the first things to try. The next thing is the finger release. So do 5 finger exercises. Play C. When you go to play D, throw the C up and then release it. When you go to play the E, throw the D up and release it. When you go to play the F, throw the E up, release it. Go to play the G, throw the F up, release it. When you then go down and do all the same things. Then apply this idea to measure number 33. It's much harder to throw the 4 and the 5. You probably can only barely see them. You can see when I release fingers 1, 2, 3 because I can get more height out of them. It's hard on 4 and 5 because these are my weaker fingers to get true independence and throw them when I release them. But this really provides, like, even after doing a couple, I feel a little bit more clean on my release, and I feel like there's more brilliance in the sound. The problem with this part is when I get a lot of overlap on this part and it's not as clean as I would like it to be. Okay, the next issue has to deal with the left hand and perpendicular traveling. So if you play this part and try to stay real level and travel like this, it's okay, but you're going to get a tight wrist and you're going to kind of hear a robotic left hand when you listen back to it. It's one of the problems that I have with this piece. Okay, so the way you want to fix this is understand the anatomy of your hand. I'll put this one up. When you play with your thumb, it's a shorter finger, so your wrist rotates to play it. When you play with your pinky, shorter finger, and again, your wrist is going to rotate to play it. When you play with 2, 3, and 4, you don't really rotate in the same way. And this is because our thumb and our pinky are shorter than our 2, 3, and 4. This is huge in piano playing. If you don't believe me, watch Valentina play this exact part. You'll see how her hand is rotating. There's a reason why. So you play the C, you allow it to go left. When you play the D sharp and G sharp, you allow your thumb to spin a little bit right. And I experienced this myself, like I said before. When you play it this way, feel the freedom of moving this way versus moving perpendicular. You'll feel the restrictiveness of that wrist position and that approach to the instrument. Really helped me. Next little bit of information is on 37. On the last note, I like finger 3. And first note of 38, I like finger 4. I experimented doing that note with 4/4, but when I sped it up on recordings, same note, side by side, had issues in the recording. You could also try 5 as the last note of measure number 37, but using 5 then 4, I usually avoid that because those are my weaker fingers. I could put a 3 in there, I'll do it, it's stronger. So much on this part. Next thing is the pedal. I spent like 20-30 days stumped on the pedal on this part, which drove me insane, but I did find it. I just ended up stealing some other people's ideas because it was really hard to figure out. On most editions, it wants you to pedal on beat 1. And if you do that at every measure, it like creates this divot. It makes the music vertical instead of horizontal. And it took me a while to figure out what I really wanted from it. I just knew I didn't like the sound of that. And the editor typically marks it this way. So Valentina plays light on beat 1, light on 1, holds it through beats 1 and 2 on 35. She does the same on 36 as far as I can tell. On 37, she holds it for 2 beats as well, off on a D sharp. 38, I think mostly whole measure. 39, off on 3. Very little on 40. The variety in this pedaling will provide nuances in the sound, and it won't make it feel so vertical. It'll make it feel more horizontal. This combined with the finger speed and an accelerando will really make a big difference. The accelerando it's not beautiful playing, it's not perfect there, but it gives it this life, and again, it keeps it away from being, okay, if you do all the wrong things, you do perpendicular robotic left hand, you do pedaling on 1, you don't do the accelerando, you're going to sound like that, and you're going to wonder where the life and the music and the emotion is and how to get there. Okay, so 45, 46, 47, this is a tricky part. So first step is to understand what the notes are. 45 is A major. 46 is chromaticism, then A major. 47 is chromaticism. Okay, so taking those things and doing them, here's 45 in different octaves. 46, 47 is the chromatic one. You can change the rhythm up. Backwards. Let's do 46 backwards. 46 with a weird rhythm. Backwards or forwards. These types of things will help you when you go to play it normal or whatever, linear. So the next issue is what to do with the eyeballs. So when I first started to do it, I would look back and forth at each hand. Okay, I try to exaggerate my head swivel. I probably would never move that much. But the swivel disorients us. This issue comes up all the time. Last time I had it was on the Prelude at number 3 by Gershwin. But it's a typical issue. So the left or the right hand travels by step, by second, major, minor, second. So it should be able to feel its way. The left hand has to stride. That's where you're going to want to look. So if you practice it that way, then you can keep your head here on the left and you'll execute those. Of course, you want to practice it the wrong way, where you'll keep your head on the right and have to feel your way through your left. That's making the left hand harder to execute than it is in practice, but we do these tricks all the time, and that's how we can get to when we have to play it in front of someone else, a lot of reassurance, because we can do it in ways that are harder than we need to at the end of the day. That's huge. You got to raise the bar past your expectation for performance, in my opinion. That really changed a lot of things when I started to think like that. Okay, so I think I got through those. So 65. This is the C section. And it goes to beat 3 of 75. It's like an octave and 3 miniature sentences all leading up to beat 3 of 75. So it's like... Okay, then it settles down. To 81. So I feel like working up to 75, beat 3, and then dropping into 81. And along the way, there's a lot of rubato and fun. I feel like I'm in a summer breeze, you know? It's like seriously really sweet, like a leaf falling from a tree. Really beautiful part. 81, harmonically, this section then starts to repeat. So 66, 81, what is that, 65? I don't know, I'm a little confused by my measure markings. But anyway, then you can see how it's just theme and variation here. You get to the 8 against 3. Just know that the D flat in the left hand on beat 2 is staggered after the E in the right. And then that the D natural is staggered after the F in the right hand. It doesn't have to... I spent some time trying to play a true 8 against 3 with a metronome, but really with this spot, the right hand leads the way, and there's so much rubato in Chopin's music, and in this part especially, that it's not supposed to be in time. So just know that they don't line up a little bit there, and let the right hand be even and kind of drive it and put some feeling into it. The last really fun thing here is this 91 part. So I really love this spot. I'll do it again. I set it up so much it's extreme, but okay. But anyway, so the left hand at 91 is in groups of 2, low note chord, and it's all inversions, working up that G diminished 7 chord. But the waltz is in 3, and this pattern is in 2, and most people play it more and more agitated as it goes along. Because the pattern in the left hand doesn't match the time signature, it's a really cool effect. One of my favorite spots of the piece. So check that out, and then at 94, put as much nuance as you can into those exposed single notes. Obviously, if you recite them like that, you don't feel the thoughtfulness. You got to have a lot of shading. Really take your time to control the sound. Okay, so those are my thoughts on the C sharp minor waltz. I hope some of those ideas help.